and there we go. So 115 meter per second, 100, pull up. Okay, well, make jib screwed up again, assuming I'm gonna land this one manually. Hello and welcome everyone. Wolf said the engineer is here, and we are in Kerbal Massive Engineering 1.1. So to start off, I want to show you a little bit teaser. The Raven Spear. That's gonna go for another video. So today we are going to make a stock SSTO, and this is what I came up with. This is a general multi-purpose high carbon orbit SSTO. So from top to bottom we have a docking port, crew cabin, inline cockpit, we have a drone core, antenna, massive cargo bay. Propulsion, we have 6 Raber engine, 2 Whiplash turbojet engine, and hell load of wings, hell load of fuel. In regards for landing, because of the new update, you need to be careful with those. So we have 4 gears in the back, 2 gears in the front, just in case the landing was too rough, the plane wouldn't crash. This is totally stock. There's only make jib here, and I will be posting this in Kerbal X in the forum. So first things first, let's take it up for a ride. Okay, there we are on the runway. Pre-flight check, everything is checked. In regard for cargo bay capacity, this is able to lift up to 60 tons. However, the more you add, just make sure you add an extra wing. You can just add another wing of the FAT 455 wings, and it will be able to lift off. So let's start up. In the action group, number 1 would close the intake and toggle those engine, switching mode of course with the Raber engine, and 0 for cargo bay, 9 for solar panel, 8 for docking port. So to take off, we are going to set make jib. Takeoff is actually smooth with this, although it's very heavy. So climbing angle is 10 degree, roll is 0. Let's get it rolling. In the back, of course, we have RCS system, and in the front as well. There's a few stitches here and there, but I made sure it's not visible because this is a stock, well, stock part is very, it doesn't have joint reinforcement. We have air brakes as well, and hell load of wings for control and controlling surfaces obviously. And this visual update is provided by the modding community. So the modding community is so awesome, they updated their mods, and yeah, take 2 I guess. Okay, so let's take this birdie bird up. Brakes are on, brakes are off. Everything looks okay. So I've set up make jib to control the flight, and we have a lot of controlling surfaces. I have installed some visual mod, as you can see. This ocean is sponsored by Scatterer, and the cloud is of course by stock visual enhancement and environment visual enhancement. Looks good. So let's take this birdie bird up. Make jib is kind of confused a little bit. Up we go, and we didn't actually crash. So we are actually stalling, but this aircraft is more than capable of recovering or in control, although that's not advisable. And the reason we had this issue is the pilot is an engineer. Don't mind me. Okay, so best climbing angle until you reach your supersonic velocity will be 10 degrees, and I'm gonna save it up for you guys and skip forward. But before I do, we have around 3,500 extra liquid fuel, and that is for the climb on the acceleration phase. So this is basically phase 1, which is taking off, and now we are entering phase 2, which is climbing up, and phase 3 will be acceleration. So I'm gonna skip until phase 3. Again, we are able to spend up to 3,500 points of liquid fuel. Now, ironically, although the mods has been kind of patched up for 1.1, but it's far away from perfect. There's some glares and kind of shredded textures here and there, but up to now it's okay. So now we reached our climb altitude, which is 10 kilometers, and time to start the acceleration. So the acceleration would be at 10 degrees. We are at 2095 meter per second. We spent 2000 units of liquid fuel just to reach here, and that's very acceptable based on the amount of fuel we have. So we got 1500 extra left, and this will be for the acceleration. So we are accelerating, and I will explain why I broke my own rule and I used turbo ramjet engine for an SSTO. This is basically a space garbage. Why space garbage? Well, because you can't really use it for in space. So in space this is an extra weight, an extra drag, which is useless. But as you can see, those engine right now is putting up to 119 kiloton of thrust. On the other end, those are putting 175 kiloton of thrust, and the reason for that is they have a better combustion within the atmosphere. The backlash of them is, as per their name, they don't operate at a high altitude nor at a high speed. So the maximum speed for those engines are Mach 3, and the maximum altitude is 17 kilometers. On the other end, by that altitude and that speed, those engines would kick in and overcome the whiplash engine. So let me finish the acceleration. Our goal is 1000 meters per second before we start our... Okay, so there we are accelerating very fast, and this is a proof of concept. As you're looking, the whiplash engine is putting merely 55 kiloton of thrust, and the Raber engine is putting up to 115 kiloton of thrust, and it still have more room. The reason is we actually exceeded the operations altitude for the whiplash engine, while we are still have more space for the Raber engine. So right now we are accelerating, we are reaching the 1000 meter per second, and we actually have, well, we have a lot of fuel left. I'm going to keep it up this way until we start losing momentum or start losing speed, and then we will pull up, switching the mode to the rocket engine and start our gravity turn. So far so good. We actually broke the Mach. We are almost at Mach 4, and now I think it's a good time to start switching to the rocket mode. So those engines are putting up to 90 kiloton of thrust, and these are not. We are climbing at 5 meters per second. So first I'm going to use the momentum we had from the speed to change our inclination. So we are pitching up now to 30 degrees. As you can see, our speed is dropping, but we are climbing. What's happening now is we are using the wings and the body of the airplane to shift our momentum up. So I switch now to the rocket mode engine. Climbing angle would be 45 degrees. We have RCS system online, and there we go. So right now we are reaching 25 kilometers. My goal is to have it up to 40 kilometers, and then we can start accelerating forward. This is a very steep climbing angle, but we do have a good airplane to play with, and we have extra fuel, so it's okay. I've designed it this specifically for that purpose, especially for beginners who doesn't have a good knowledge on how to design a good SSTO, because the stock aircraft is more or less hard to fly, and more likely you're not gonna achieve the orbit you want. But with this one, you have a huge margin error fuel extra just in case. I'm gonna put this on Kerbal X and the link will be in the description below. Feel free to download it and toy with it in the way you see it fit. You can actually change the engine or add more engine on the wing. Just copy paste this engine and yeah, have fun. So now we are going to change our climbing angle to 10 degree to start the acceleration. As you can see right now we don't have any drag, and that's why I had a steep climbing angle. I wanted to kill the drag, so when we climb up it will be easier for the engine and it will be fuel saving. As you can see, the air intake is closed and that would reduce the drag we have. So we are switching to orbital velocity. We are at 1200 meter per second and we actually started following. Okay, let's go up a little bit more. Climbing angle would be 20 degree. There we go, very stable. We are still falling down, but we are gaining speed. I would say this is not the best run I had with this one. The other run was much better. But again, this is designed for this purpose, which is the margin error. So regardlessly, I would say we are still able to have a high orbit around Kerbin and land it back safely. So we are reaching 1500 meter per second. This is almost the orbital velocity which I planned it for. We are losing some delta V because of the drag, but up to now it's still okay. I actually forgot to mention that in the beginning of the flight we had around 12,000 meter per second delta V. That's because the MechJib is calculating the delta V based on the turboramjet engine. So now we are reaching, well, we are actually reaching orbital velocity and we are starting our climb again. And there we go. We actually still have 2000 units of fuel left, around 700 meter per second delta V, which is enough for a very high orbit, as I mentioned earlier. And as an, let's call it an emergency method, what I normally do is I always include extra RCS fuel just in case we run out of fuel and we don't know how to make an orbit back. So we got 1000 units of monopropellant. And what does that mean is, in case you're stuck in space with no fuel left, this 1000 units should at least bring you back to the atmospheric level in a way that you're gonna glide on the atmosphere for a while before falling down back to Kerbin. So we have reached the orbital velocity. We are at 1200 meter per second. Our altitude would be, okay, well, we actually reached the orbit. So look at this, beautiful. I love the new see that I have several of mod installed for the visual enhancement, and it looks amazing. The modding community in this game is so awesome. So now we have reached the orbit we want. We just need to make sure that we are circularized, so I'm going to hit the engine a little bit up, and the orbit is 100 kilometers. So time acceleration to our destination will be in 6 minutes. So I'm gonna cut it here and I'll be right back once we reach the 100 kilometer apo-apse. Okay, so we are at 100 kilometer apo-apse. We got only 80 meter per second delta V. So let's accelerate. And we have an orbit. Even though we had a kind of a bad run, we actually achieved an orbit. And we do, as I mentioned earlier, have a lot of fuel, which is monopropellant fuel for the RCS system. It can kind of translate your errors in space. So right now we are using that to rise our apo-ups into at least a 70 kilometer orbit. And then we're gonna use the same monopropellant fuel to bring us back to orbit. So as you can see, it's not much, it's very slow, but it can do the job. So we are at 60 kilometer more or less. And what I want to do now is to actually bring us back to Kerbal. So what we're gonna do is use the same RCS system to bring us back. So I'm going to skip forward and I will see you guys on the line up to the runway, or on the entry at least. And with the silence of space, as you can see, we are reaching 55 kilometer, and our orbit is getting smaller by the second. So again, I'm using the RCS system to slow myself down, and we are having a very smooth re-entry relatively to my other re-entry. Although this vehicle is more than capable of having a re-entry at a 30 kilometer or 30,000 meter at a speed of 2,500 meter per second, which I tested it, and it actually survived the re-entry regardlessly. So right now what I'm doing is skipping through the atmosphere to reduce our speed and go back into Kerbal without flying back to space. Just in case we need, again, we have an extra 1,600 liquid fuel unit, so we can skip through half Kerbal going back to our runway. Right now we are above the desert, and to be honest, we are actually very fast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reduce the angle of attack. First activate the air brake and then reduce the angle of attack to -10. So what's happening now is we are using the momentum to reduce our pre-ups. As you can see, it's dropping down rapidly, and we're gonna line up for the runway. Only problem is I don't know where it is. Okay, spaceplane guidance. So we are 600 kilometer away. Fuel situation is good, re-entry is again good, and we are going down. So we are going down at a speed of 100 meter per second. One of the tricks you can do, as you've seen me doing before, is to actually use the whole body of the airplane to slow yourself down. First, go down as much as you can, and then pull up the same way. So we are pulling up, and we're gonna use the whole body of the airplane as an air brake. As you can see the drag now, we are using the whole body of the airplane as let's call it a drag surface, and we actually flipped backwards, so we better get back into the correct orientation. Again, we are using the airplane body as an air brake, and we lost the wings. What did we lose? Not entirely sure what did we lost, but we actually slowed down to 2,000 meter per second, and that's very acceptable. I'm guessing right now we need to just glide through the atmosphere until we reach our destination. I'm gonna release the air brakes. I'm not sure what did we lose, to be honest. Okay, we lost the controlling surfaces. I'm not even sure which one. Okay, so we are coming up from the mountain, and based on our current speed and altitude, I am not entirely sure if this is gonna reach the runway exactly or it's gonna be a short. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna activate the engine to build up more speed at a third of our total thrust, and this is exactly why we have extra extra fuel and extra RCS system. Again, it's for the margin errors, which I'm normally having a lot. So Bill Kerman, the engineer, is gonna bring us home safely, mostly in one piece. Alright, so we are coming in on the runway. I'm giving control to MKX. Thrust at 1/3. Landing checklist, gears down, air brakes, and lights, just to be sure that MKX is gonna screw this up once again. Normally when I do land in MKX or with MKX it crashes, but let's give him a chance. So the optimum landing speed for this airplane, even without thrust, is 80 meters per second, but with those wheels it's able to land at a higher speed, up to 200 meters per second, but I'm not gonna test that now because it might crash. So we are coming in lined up with the runway. MKX is doing well, so far so good actually. Glide slope would be 6 degrees. Once again, this is the optimum gliding slope for an empty airplane. We still have actually fuel, and there we go. See the distant enhancement, what do you call this? Distant object enhancement mode is so awesome. It will let you see the KSC from a very long distance. So we are coming into the runway. Engine is off, and there we go. So 115 meters per second. 100, pull up, pull up. Okay, well, MKX screwed up again, assuming. I'm gonna land this one manually. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, we are losing pieces of this airplane, and we are still actually gliding. So, come on, Bill Kerman, land us safe. And there we go, in one piece, or pieces. I'm not sure what happened with MKX, but yeah, it's not fixed, obviously. I think we destroyed the air brake. Other than that, the whole airplane is in one piece. You see, those wheels are able to handle the shocks just in case you land up roughly. And we made it. Look at this. Fantastic. Good job, Bill. Now it's time to crash you. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm gonna post this on Kerbal X. Feel free to download it and toy with it. And once again, if you like today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos coming soon. Till then, stay tuned.